And so when we're in REM sleep, we're processing all the events that have happened during the day. So our brain is deciding, all right, what is important? What is going to be something that I need to save and to put either into short-term or long-term memory? What is something that I need to trash, that this is no longer important for me to remember? And we're kind of just getting rid of the debris and things that might be like jamming up the system. So it's very important to do that, but also it's helping with emotion regulation. It's helping with learning. It's helping with memory consolidation. So whenever we're cutting out REM sleep, or, I gave the example of waking up early and just literally not even getting that REM sleep, or if you are just really tossing, turning, you had alcohol, so you're not being able to get into those deep stages of deep sleep and REM sleep, then we're doing ourselves a disservice because we're going to be waking up, we're not feeling as refreshed as we could be, we're not feeling cognitively as sharp as we could be. Maybe that looks like brain fog, but it also could look like feeling kind of moody and not being our best self. So there's a lot of different things that come into play, but this also goes hand in hand with nightmares. So whenever someone has something that has been unprocessed and continues to be unprocessed, the brain will continue to try and process it at night because it knows that that's what its job is to do. Is during REM sleep, we process things.
This is By Joyan Season 2. I'm your host, Joyan Chan, and every Wednesday we bring you inspiring stories, powerful message, and fun conversations with me and my special guests and friends, and it's my personal mission to empower you to live and lead a life with joy. This podcast is for you if you're looking for more joy, courage, passion, and purpose in your life. Now let's dive into today's episode and get ready to laugh, learn, and live your life to the fullest. Joining us today is a licensed clinical and prescribing psychologist who has served as the FBI's sleep expert for over 5 years. With a passion for optimizing human performance, she's on a mission to help others harness the transformative power of rest, because better sleep shouldn't be top secret. She shares practical, science-backed strategies on her YouTube channel, and her upcoming book, The Sleep Advantage, hit shelves on October 1st, 2025. She's here today to empower you to sleep better, recover faster, and enhance the quality of your life. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me in welcoming the FBI sleep expert, Dr. Leah Kaylor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited and also very excited to tell you that this is our very first sleep expert on the show, like first one ever on the show. So
Wonderful. Okay, let's do it then.
yes, so I told you I'm struggling with sleep every single day, and you told me that most people do. So
Yes.
why do you think most people struggle with sleep? Like, why do we struggle with sleep so much?
So, yeah, I think we need to like rewind for a second because we got on here just a few minutes just to kind of chat and get to know each other for a second before we started. And you had said, "Oh, it's early for you, but you must have slept well." And yeah, it's as we're recording this right now, it's 8 a.m. for me, but I slept amazing. I slept 8 hours. I probably could have slept even more, but I think that I'm an anomaly. Like I sleep very well and I know exactly what it is that I need to do to sleep very well. Not to say that there aren't nights where I sleep poorly, because sometimes that does happen, and sometimes there are just things that are outside of your control. Maybe your stomach hurts, chronic pain, whatever's going on. But I would say that there are more people who struggle with sleep than there are people who are like, "Oh no, it's cool, it's good. Like I got sleep under control." And that may also be because of what it is that I do and being a sleep expert, having the book coming out, having a YouTube channel all about sleep. I'm also attracting a lot of people who are struggling with sleep. But I think that sleep, there are so many factors that come into getting a good night's rest. And a lot of people don't realize what it is that those are. And it doesn't just have to be with what it is that you're doing in bed or what it is that you're doing right before you lay down for bed. It also involves things that you do right in the morning too. So there's a combination of factors that come into play that can either harm or help your sleep. And I think that there are just a lot of people out there who are not knowledgeable about all these different things and the small changes that you can make to improve your sleep and make it that much better.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear all about that. So when I was researching you and your work, I was honestly surprised to learn that there are sleep mystics. So
I've never been called that before. Okay, that's exciting. A
yeah,
sleep mystic.
yeah. I thought it's somewhere on your, I don't know, bio or somewhere on your website. So from your experience, clinical experience working with people, what are some of the common sleep mistakes that people often make, which is why they struggle with sleep?
I think that there's so many things that we do wrong, so let's just start with the first one that's coming to mind. One of the things that we do, and I will say that, of all the people who are listening to this podcast, everyone's going to have a different situation, right? So, the first thing I'm going to talk about are what are the things that you're doing in bed and what are things that you should not be doing in bed. Now, there might be someone who's listening who lives in a studio apartment and or way back when I was living in New York City, I was a graduate student, like my bed was also my couch, was also the area that I studied. It's a multi-purpose living space. So for folks like that, it is going to be more challenging. But for people who are listening who have a bedroom and they have other areas of their home or their apartment that they can go to, this is going to be really important that the things that we do inside of our bedroom, we need to be very selective about the things that we do inside the bedroom because that can really mess up our sleep. So, to give you an example, we call it the 3 S's: sleep, sex, and sickness. Those are the 3 things that you should be doing in bed. Everything else, which is a lot of other things, need to go. They need to go somewhere else. They cannot be done in the bedroom. And so normally whenever I have an audience and I'm doing a sleep lecture, I'll have a whiteboard, and in the middle of the whiteboard I will write bed. And I'll ask people, before I tell them all of this that I'm going to tell you, I ask them, what is it that you're doing in bed? And normally, people laugh and they'll say, oh, well, I'm paying my bills, or I'm writing emails, or I'm talking to my partner, or I'm petting my dog, or I'm watching Netflix, or I'm scrolling, or I'm reading. It's a list of things. And so bed is in the middle, and then I start to draw lines out to all these other things that people are saying that they're doing in bed. And then, ironically, people normally don't say, oh, well, I'm sleeping in bed. Like, it's very rare that someone actually says that, which is just funny. If you think about it, it's very ironic. So we have all these different lines going out to all these other different activities that we're doing in bed. And our brain is brilliant. It absolutely is. It's incredible. But at the same time, sometimes it can be a little dumb. And so whenever we go into the bedroom and we have all of these other different activities that we've got going on, the brain gets kind of confused, and it doesn't know that sleep is what it should be doing in bed. It just knows that it's one of the many options. So when we've got all these other activities that we could be doing in bed, like watching Netflix or scrolling or talking to our partner, all the other fun things that we could be doing, those things are very exciting for the brain because they release dopamine. Dopamine is what is a pleasure chemical for us. It wants us to keep doing whatever it is. That's why things are kind of addicting when it comes to scrolling. Like, you think, oh, I know I need to go to bed, but you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and then another hour goes by. Okay, where did that hour go? Well, that's dopamine at work. So whenever we get into bed and we have all these other different activities going on, sleep kind of takes a back seat because sleep, while it is super, super beneficial, it has a very hard time competing with dopamine because dopamine is exciting and it's motivating and it gives us pleasure and it wants us to keep doing that same activity that we're doing, whereas sleep really can't compete. So we have to be very strategic about what it is that we do in bed and what it is that we do outside of the bedroom so that we can start to make the strongest association between bed and sleep that we possibly can. That's really what we want to do. And so to do that, we have to take out all these other fun activities and do them somewhere outside of the bedroom. So then over a period of time, the brain starts to learn, okay, when I go into the bedroom, I've got 3 options, which are sleep, sex, and sickness. And then it starts to learn and it starts to create this association. And when we get into bed, then we're going to have an easier time falling asleep because we don't have all these other competing things trying to vie for our attention.
Mm. But you mentioned something really crucial, which is for folks who might not have the luxury of having a living room and a bedroom and a kitchen and a balcony.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe they live in a studio apartment, or even they rent a small room, maybe students, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how do they then sleep better, have a better sleep, if they don't have that luxury of having a bigger space?
Yeah, and that can be really challenging. Trust me, like I lived it for 2 years when I was in New York City of like not only did I have a one bedroom, but I was sharing a one bedroom. So it was super teeny tiny. So I would say for folks who are in a situation like that, doing the best you can with what you've got. So maybe that means instead of using your bed as a place to study, maybe you go to the local library. You know, one of the things I would also recommend too is if you really don't have the luxury of being able to go anywhere else and do things, then I would say whenever trying to train your brain that being under the covers is when we sleep, and then like being on top of the covers is maybe when we use this space for something else. So maybe that's the way that we create that association, because yeah, there will be people out there who this is their life, they just have this one bedroom that is their space. And so if they can, or maybe even, you know, laying down in bed, however they lay to actually go to sleep. Okay, maybe we use the foot of the bed then to do watching Netflix or studying or, eating. Maybe that's also the place that they eat too. So just trying to create some type of divide, some type of separation so the brain understands. So I would say, yeah, using the other side of the bed and then also reserving being under the covers
Mm.
as just for sleep.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you said that most people are not bad at sleeping, just that we were never taught how to sleep, right? It's
Yeah.
funny to think about that. So, what are some of the basic concepts, like sleep skills or concepts, that should be common knowledge, but are not actually common knowledge?
Yeah, I think if I could only, if your podcast was 5 minutes long and I could only give you one sleep tip, this is the tip that I would give you. And it's so important. And you're right, like we just don't learn how to sleep well. And then as we become, a teenager, our sleep gets all out of whack. Usually teenagers are used to staying up very late and then sleeping in very late. And then as we get older, like into young adulthood, maybe we are just controlled by the demands of our job. And then as we get a little bit older, maybe we have caregiving responsibilities of either children or being a caretaker for adult parents. So I think that there are so many demands in life that kind of dictate our sleep schedule of, oh no, like I need to get this project done for work, or like I'll just wake up and I'll make all the cookies for the bake sale. So there's so many things that encroach on our sleep as we move through different stages of life. But if I could only give you one tip, here it is. It is to go to bed at the same time every night and to wake up at the same time every morning, even on weekends, even on holidays. I know that it's a real bummer and that is like highly annoying for me to say, but it's true because our brain and our body do very well when they understand what it is that we want from them, what it is that we need when we put it on a routine and we have structure. And that's exactly what I'm asking for, is that when we start to go to bed at the same time every day and wake up at the same time every day, then the brain and the body start to know. And then it gets easier to fall asleep at the same time every night. And it gets easy to wake up at the same time every morning. So you've probably heard of those like mythical creatures who can wake up before an alarm clock. Like those people do exist. And actually, this morning I was one of them. I knew I was getting ready to come on your podcast and I was excited and I had an alarm set and I woke up a few minutes before the alarm, but it is because I work very hard to practice what it is that I preach. So I would say that that is what's so important. And here's what most people do is that we normally wake up at a specific time because of social obligations like work or getting the kids to school, whatever it is. So we know what time we need to be waking up, but whenever we go to sleep can kind of really vary. Maybe we are watching a Netflix show that we're really excited about, or we have a book that we just can't put down, whatever the case may be. So whenever we are doing that, so let's just say, for example, we wake up Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. because of whatever our social obligations are. So Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. But then on Saturday, like the weekend rolls around, we're so excited. And the thought is, oh, I'm gonna sleep in. I'm gonna catch up on sleep. And for those of you who are just listening, I'm doing air quotes for catch up on sleep. And this is because this is a myth that does not exist. We're not catching up on sleep. Yes, you may feel a little bit better after having a longer sleep, but you're not catching up. Like the damage that you've done is done. So let's just say, for example, okay, this person Monday through Friday was sleeping in until 6 a.m. Then on Saturday, they decide, I'm going to sleep in until 9. That's going to be fantastic. So Saturday, they sleep in until 9. Then they do the same thing. Sunday, they sleep in until 9. So on Monday, the brain is like, oh, I guess this is what we're doing now. I guess we're sleeping in until 9. But Monday rolls around and it's time to get up for work. So we have to get up at 6. And so that 3-hour time difference between 6 and 9, it's called social jet lag. And essentially what we're doing is we are basically taking a flight from New York to Los Angeles, this 3-hour time difference, but we're not getting any of the benefits of actually going on a vacation. Instead, we're getting that jet laggy, groggy, having that much harder of a time getting up out of bed to get moving. And when we do this weekend after weekend, because that's normally what it is that we do, because, Monday we'll go back to work 6 a.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're continuing to wake up at the time that we need to get to work. But then the weekend rolls around and we do it again. And so our body just has a really hard time catching up and understanding what is going on and when do you want me awake? And it's just so challenging. So I would say that that's one of the biggest mistakes that we make whenever it comes to sleep. It's an easy fix. We just have to stick with it.
Yeah. What other outdated sleep advice that is still circulating today, or maybe on social media even, or that might actually be harming people instead of helping them our ability to rest and recover faster?
Yeah, I just did a video on this, so it's going to come out on my YouTube channel here soon, but you'll get a little sneak peek here. And when we talk about like harmful advice, this is definitely, I would say, harmful advice, is that a lot of people use alcohol as a sleep aid. Okay, yeah, alcohol can make you sleepy. Yes, it does. It's a depressant. It's going to act like a sedative. It's going to suppress your central nervous system. It will help you descend into sleep faster. However, it doesn't do you any favors when it comes to actual good quality sleep. So then when we drink the alcohol, we have this like sedative effect. We're feeling sleepy, we're feeling drowsy, go to bed. But then the stomach gets down, or the alcohol gets down into the stomach. It starts to be metabolized, it's turning into sugar, and then it turns into a stimulant. So it has the opposite effect. So that's why our sleep is normally very disrupted and very fragmented and in much lighter stages of sleep, because the alcohol is not allowing us to get into those stages of deep sleep and REM sleep that are going to be really important. They have different functions, but they're both very, very important for waking up the next day and having physical restoration and mental restoration. But instead, alcohol just really disrupts all of that. And this is something, so I came from the VA. That's where I was originally trained in the sleep clinic, and then I took that to the FBI. And so with that, I think that there's a lot of people, at least in that population of military, of law enforcement, of first responders, who are struggling with falling asleep and don't know what else to be able to do, because, okay, this has worked for me. It is working. Yeah, maybe I'm sleeping like crap. But I think a lot of people don't realize the difference between having a decent night's sleep and what it feels like to have a really good night's sleep, because maybe that has been so far out of reach for such a long period of time. And so when we get into this cycle, it is very possible to become reliant on alcohol as a way to fall asleep. And so I would say that that's probably one of the most
Yeah.
troublesome pieces of advice that are out there of, oh, it's fine. We'll just use alcohol. That's how we'll fall asleep. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I remember that because just recently, not long ago, I was out having drinks with my girlfriends,
Yeah.
and the first time in a long time, yeah, I finally can sleep well tonight, and I remember waking up in the middle of like I don't know, like 3 a.m.
Hmm.
Just couldn't go back to sleep. I was like, okay, now I'm feeling sober, and what do I do about sleeping?
Right.
So I really struggle, and the next morning is just like hell. And so how much sleep is enough? Because sometimes I could sleep for like 10, 12 hours and I still feel tired exhausted,
Mhm.
because we talk about 8 hours sleep, everyone has to have 8 hours sleep. Is that another myth you like to bust?
So I would say whenever it comes to sleep, every adult is unique and different whenever it comes to maybe you're someone who's training for a marathon, so you've got that going for you. Or maybe you're trying to recover from something. So there everyone is going to be unique and different, but what the research tells us is that adults should be sleeping 7 to 9 hours per night. Now, again, say for example, you did something really strenuous. You're moving apartments, and for one whole day, like all you did was move furniture and carry really heavy things. Yeah, that night your body's probably going to be asking for more sleep. But on average, the typical average healthy sleeper is going to need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. And again, a lot of people may be thinking, all right, well, I'm not really sure exactly what it is that my body needs. And this is a great fun tip. If you have the luxury of being able to go on vacation and you can kind of build your schedule however you want, you can fall asleep whenever you want to, you can wake up whenever you want to, you're not setting an alarm and waking up at the crack of dawn to go on a shore excursion or a scheduled tour or something like that. When you have the luxury of being able to have the time to fall asleep when you want, to wake up whenever you want, and hopefully you're on vacation, so you're separated from the stressors of work, that is a great indicator of how much sleep your body uniquely needs. That's going to be a great indicator, and I encourage people to try that next time they have the luxury of kind of being on this leisurely vacation.
I love that. Yeah. So, since you have worked as the FBI sleep expert, how does unresolved trauma affect sleep?
It sure does. Yes, it absolutely does. So I would say that, yeah, within the Bureau, everyone knows to send me people who are struggling with sleep. That means I get a lot of referrals. That also means that I get a lot of referrals that are not a good fit. Well, I don't want to say that. When I What I mean is that I get a ton of people who are struggling with sleep issues, air quotes, but what that actually is untreated depression or anxiety or trauma that are not processed, that they are still hanging around, and that is what's actually manifesting as the sleep issue, is that it is some type of untreated mental health condition. So
Mm,
yes, I would say that I get a ton of referrals like that where we can work on general sleep hygiene, but what's really going to be the ticket to getting better sleep is going to be addressing whatever it is that's untreated, so depression, anxiety, trauma, what have you. And whenever it comes to those different mental health conditions, it's kind of like a chicken and the egg. It's like this vicious cycle of,
yeah.
if mental health is poor and it's not being well taken care of, it's going to impact our ability to fall asleep, to stay asleep. And then when we're not sleeping well, then it's going to impact our mental health. So it's just this vicious cycle that keeps circling and circling until we, and this is whenever I work with folks, is that I will treat both. So I'm treating the mental health concerns, but I'm also helping you get better sleep. And I think that that's the key to um, unlocking better sleep, and to help just getting to a better place, is working with both the mental health and the sleep.
So, how does a good night's sleep help people to process traumatic experience? Because I believe it works both way, right?
It does. It does. So one of the here's another myth, is whenever it comes to sleep, I think people think that when they turn off the lights to go to bed, turning off that light switch, they think about that also happening in their brain and their body, and that could not be further from the truth. Whenever you're sleeping, it's truly like one of the most productive things that you could possibly be doing, and yet you really don't have a whole lot of memory of it. And so what's happening during sleep is that we've got light sleep, which has benefits, but then we've got deep sleep, and that's a lot of physical restoration for the body and energy reserves. And then we've also got REM sleep. And REM sleep is really important for cognitive restoration, for helping our mental health. And so when we're not getting enough REM sleep, this is going to be really detrimental for folks. So one of the things that we need to think about is we should be cycling through stages of sleep throughout the night. So we should be cycling through light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. And as we move throughout the night, the amount of deep sleep, light sleep, and REM sleep will be changing from, say, for example, right whenever you fall asleep to a period during the middle of the night to whenever you're waking up. And the amount where we get the most REM sleep is closer to whenever our alarm clock is going to go off. And so that's also why it's really detrimental for people to be like, oh, it's okay. I'll just wake up an hour earlier and I'll complete that project. Or I'll just wake up an hour earlier and I'll do X, Y, and Z, because we're cutting out the chunk of time where we are getting the most REM sleep. And so during REM sleep, our brain is super duper active. In fact, what's super cool is that if you were to put a cap with electrodes on someone who is in REM sleep, and you have another person and you put a cap with electrodes on them, and we're looking at their brain waves and they are awake and they're actively problem solving, that those two brain waves are going to look very, very similar. It's actually going to be quite hard to tell them apart. So that just goes to show that no, we are not just like shutting down whenever we're going to bed, but our brain is very active. And so when we're in REM sleep, we're processing all the events that have happened during the day. So our brain is deciding, all right, what is important? What is going to be something that I need to save and to put either into short term or long term memory? What is something that I need to trash, that this is no longer important for me to remember? And we're kind of just getting rid of the debris and things that might be like jamming up the system. So it's very important to do that, but also it's helping with emotion regulation. It's helping with learning. It's helping with memory consolidation. So whenever we're cutting out REM sleep, or I gave the example of waking up early and just literally not even getting that REM sleep, or if you are just really tossing, turning, you had alcohol, so you're not being able to get into those deep stages of deep sleep and REM sleep, then we're doing ourselves a disservice, because we're going to be waking up, we're not feeling as refreshed as we could be, we're not feeling cognitively as sharp as we could be. Maybe that looks like brain fog, but it also could look like feeling kind of moody and not being our best self. So there's a lot of different things that come into play, but this also goes hand in hand with nightmares. So whenever someone has something that has been unprocessed and continues to be unprocessed, the brain will continue to try and process it at night, because it knows that that's what its job is to do. Is during REM sleep we process things. And so if there's something that has been unprocessed, like some type of trauma, then the brain tries to process it at night. And if our adrenaline and our cortisol are too high, which is what often happens, then the body isn't able to process it, because it needs to be in more of a calm and relaxed state to process through things. But that's also where we're getting into nightmares. So the brain is trying to process something traumatic, the adrenaline and the cortisol are too high, we're in REM sleep, and so all these factors come to play together to then result in a nightmare. And a lot of times I think nightmares can be extremely scary and upsetting, and oftentimes if they're happening night after night after night, they're going to be really disruptive to sleep. But what the brain is actually trying to do with nightmares is it's trying to process something that it needs to process. And because our adrenaline and cortisol are too high, we end up with this like skipping record kind of effect, where we try and process it, we have a nightmare, we wake up, it's not fully processed. So the next night, the brain is like, all right, we're going to try again. And so that's where we get to a stage of night after night after night having these nightmares. And there are folks out there who struggle with this. And what I would say is that there are ways to fix this. And one of the ways would be processing what it is that needs to be processed during the daytime. And maybe that looks like therapy. Maybe that looks like talking to a trusted friend or family member. Maybe that looks like journaling, wherever you are on your journey, and, whatever you have the like finances to be able to accommodate too. So yes, you're exactly right. Whenever it comes to trauma, processing it at night is one of the things that the brain is trying to do. And sometimes it's successful and sometimes it's not. It just depends.
That was so mind blowing because
It's a ton of information.
no, because it's the first time that someone actually break down why we have nightmares. Like this is the first time I learned about this. This is so mind blowing because I don't know why we have nightmares. Where does it come from?
Yeah.
And I didn't know it's just science, right?
It
Yeah,
is.
how about
Yeah.
dreams? Because I was just having like, I'm just curious, like, where are these like dreams, nightmares? Where do they come from? So how about dreams? Right, people who dream a lot, maybe too much. Yeah.
Well, okay, so yeah, whenever it comes to dreams, dreams can happen at any point, at any stage throughout sleep. However, REM is also most well known for dreams, and those dreams that happen during REM sleep are the most vivid. And if we woke someone up during a dream during REM, like they could wake you up and be like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, like this was going on and this person was here and you wouldn't believe this and and they could just tell you exactly what was going on." So, dreams are just so incredibly cool, and it's kind of going hand in hand with the emotion regulation that we talked about. So, dreams, and let me say this first and then I'll say that. There will be people out there who are listening who maybe like dream every single night and they can remember all their dreams and it's very vivid, and then there will be people who say that they never dream at all. Yes, unless that there's some type of medical condition or maybe there's a medication that you're taking with side effects, most people do dream. And if you forget it or if you don't remember it, that's not unusual at all and it's not harmful. Your brain is still doing what it needs to do. So, not to worry about that because I get that question a lot. So, whenever it comes to REM sleep, it's going hand in hand with emotion regulation. So, that's a big task that the brain is working on all night long. So, your dreams may be an exact replay of something that happened during the day. They may be symbolic in it, like something it's trying to process. It may be like bringing people into your dream that, oh man, I didn't see this person today. Why is this person being brought into my dreams? Maybe it's not actually the person, but what it is that they're symbolic of for you, or like the way that they make you feel. So that's usually what's happening with dreams, is it's just another way for our brain to help process what has happened all day long, and what it may be, like problems that it's also trying to work on too. um that's also why we say sleep on it, right? Is that you've got a problem and the daytime brain is having a hard time figuring out, how do I come up with a solution? What the heck? And then, I think that a lot of us can relate to going to bed and waking up either the next morning or even waking up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh, I got it. Like, this is what we're going to do. This is a solution. This is how we're going to figure it out. And that is the brain hard at work during sleep, is that we're working on all these tasks. We're very busy. We're solving problems. We're consolidating memory. We are updating our neural networks. And so that's one of the crazy cool things that the brain does. And that's why we say sleep on it when we're trying to solve problems. So I gave you a bunch of different answers right there.
Of course, I have to re-listen to this episode. Everything you said is just gold. And
Thank you.
have you personally struggled with sleep? I mean, as the expert.
Yes. Yes, I have. That's a great question. So when I was in college, before I ever worked in a sleep clinic, I was an undergraduate student, and I was also on the gymnastics team. So I would wake up super early. I would schedule myself for like the earliest possible classes, which were usually 8 a.m. And then I would, do work, do college student things. Then I would take like a really long nap in the middle of the day, like a 3-hour nap. Again, like present day Leah is like, oh God, past Leah, what were you doing? Hindsight is 2020. I know what it is that I need to do now. But then I would wake up, I would go to gymnastics practice, and our practices are usually like 4 hours long because it's a very
Mm.
intensive sport. Then I would go have dinner and I would go to the library and do my homework and all those types of things. And then I would lay down for bed at, let's just say, 9 p.m. and be wide awake and not understand why, and just be like, what the heck's going on? Do I need sleep aids? Do I need Benadryl? What's going on? And again, I just look back and I laugh because, Leah, like, the problem was so obvious. It's these crazy long naps that you're trying to take in the middle of the day, and your brain is confused. And so, just to give you the science behind this one, is that when we wake up after sleep, so whenever your alarm clock goes off, your adenosine should be very low. And adenosine is the name of a chemical that builds up in our body all day long. So when you wake up after a full night's rest, your adenosine should be very low. And then it should build and build and build and build all day long until it's time to go to bed at night. And that's what helps you feel sleepy. That's what scientists call like your sleep pressure. So whenever we are allowing our adenosine to build up, but then we take a nap, that sleep pressure kind of drops. So we're not doing ourselves a favor there. So that's kind of what I was doing day after day. Was I didn't understand why I didn't feel sleepy at night when I wanted to go to bed, was because I didn't build up enough sleep pressure because I was taking a nap in the middle of the day, and a very long nap. Um, and so that's why, is just that my body wasn't ready for sleep. I didn't build up enough of the chemical adenosine to feel sleepy enough to fall asleep and stay asleep throughout the whole night.
So if I don't feel sleepy, how do I fall asleep?
So I would say you need to do some investigative work. If you were taking long naps in the middle of the day, like college Leah was, stop doing that. Do not do that. But I would say that, again, as we talked about before, going to bed at the same time every night and waking up at the same time every morning, your body will start to learn and start to feel very sleepy. And now, fast forward however many years later, I do that. My bedtime is 9 p.m. And so at like 8:30, I'm starting to yawn. I'm feeling very tired. Like my body is ready, but I have trained it to do that. So if you are, I would say that that's like my first piece of advice. But also, too, if you are not feeling sleepy, forcing sleep is going to be challenging. So I would say that if it's time for bed and you're not feeling sleepy, you could do some relaxation exercises. So this really plays into, what is your wind down routine? What is it that you're doing before bed? And one of the things that we do that really gets in our own way, and this is just a really simple, easy fix. We are wired, our brain is wired the same way as our caveman ancestors. Even though it has been years and years and years and years, we still have the same neural circuitry. So our caveman ancestors knew that it was time to be awake when the sun went up, but they also knew that it was time to go to sleep when the sun went down. Well, now we have all these modern advances where we can have all the lights on, and it doesn't matter what time of day it is, we can turn on all the lights. But also, too, the light that comes from our TVs, our laptops, our iPad, our phone, all those are emitting what we call blue light. And I think everyone's heard about blue light, but okay, what's the science behind blue light? Blue light is harmful because blue light is the same wavelength as sunlight. So during the day, we want blue light because that's going to help us feel awake and alert and hopefully motivated to go do things. But as we get closer and closer and closer to bedtime, that blue light is doing us a disservice because it's tricking our brain into telling us that it's still daylight out. So whenever I would say like 2 to 3 hours before bed, if you can, shut off all your overheads and just use lamps or use dimmers, or if you want to get fancy, do candles. But that's what's going to be important, is that we start to tell the brain through light exposure that it's time to start to wind down. It's time to start to relax. And when we do that consistently, that's one of the many tools in our toolkit that's very, very easy, that can help us feel sleepy whenever it comes time for bedtime.
So is it important to have a wind down routine or evening routine? Because
Oh,
I
yes.
don't have one. There are so many strategies, right? How do we find one that is fit for us?
Yeah, and I would say trial and error and experimentation. Like, what is it that you like? So for me, especially right now, it's summertime, so I love natural light. Like, right now, you're seeing me have a lot of light on, or if anyone's watching us like on YouTube, but that's because I want you to have good lighting and to be able to see me well. But I whenever I can, I turn off all the overheads and I just want natural sunlight. I also like really like having windows and like my doors open. Like I just like having a lot of natural light. And whenever it's summertime, I will try not to turn the lights on at all, and I will just go with the lighting from outside and also have that natural sunlight and watch the sunset too, if I have the luxury of being able to do so, because that's going to be important cues for my brain to let it know, like, hey, Leah, time to slow down, time to realize that it's time for bedtime. But whenever it comes to a wind down routine, it's going to be important to know what it is that you like. Do you like reading? Do you like listening to an audiobook? Do you like doing something very mindful like crocheting? Do you like stretching and like gentle yoga? So it just depends on what it is that you like and what it is that you find relaxing. Again, we talked about this earlier, things like watching Netflix and scrolling through funny cat videos. Okay, those may be fun, but save them for earlier in the daytime. Not to say that you can't do those, but whenever it comes to those two things that I just mentioned, so watching something on TV, that's going to be exciting for the brain. It's going to be releasing dopamine, but also our TV or whatever screen that we're watching it on is going to be releasing that blue light. And the blue light is like, hey, brain, it's daytime, cut off the melatonin. So as we get closer to bed, we don't want that. The same thing with scrolling. It's going to be exciting. The brain is interested. It wants to keep doing that. It doesn't want to put the phone down and to do sleepy time activities. So we need to, and I would say like 2 hours before bed, if we can, shutting off the screens. I know that that's a lot to ask, but if you're having crappy sleep and you want to fix it, because there are so many benefits of having good sleep that are going to touch just about every single thing in your life. If you want to get towards that, then starting small, starting with just having like changing your lighting situation as we get towards bed, changing what it is that you're doing in the bedroom, like we talked about before, the 3 S's, sleep, sex, and sickness, and taking all those other things out, because a lot of times that's messing with our ability to fall asleep too, is that when I'm in my room, and again, I have the luxury of having a home. So I have like a home office and I have a living room and we have kind of like a gym area. But if you are someone who has a bedroom and you've got all your work papers and your work laptop and your TV and like, maybe you have some workout equipment, like those are all cues that are going to confuse the brain. So we need to take all those things outside of the bedroom and put them somewhere else. So the brain knows when I come into bed, this is really my only choice. Yeah, I would just say that it has a lot to do with what it is that is relaxing for you. Does that mean listening to a meditation? There will be some people who are like, oh, absolutely hell no, I can't sit down and meditate. But maybe you can listen to some soft, soothing music, or maybe you can take a hot shower if you're not someone who normally does that. Taking a hot shower is going to paradoxically drop our internal body temperature, which is, again, one of the things that our body needs to do in order to fall asleep. So there's lots of different things that you can do for your wind down routine. And I would say just experiment and kind of do some self-reflection. Maybe you like journaling. There's so many different things that you could do. It just really depends on you and what you like and what you find relaxing.
Yeah. So I sometimes I it's funny to even say that I don't want to go to bed. Like I don't want to sleep sometimes.
Okay.
Is it a trauma response actually? If someone doesn't want to go to bed?
It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Mm,
So it could be that say for example, like I had such a great day and it was so exciting and maybe something really wonderful happened to me and I'm just so excited. And that does happen to me. So it could be I don't want to go to sleep, or my brain doesn't want to go to sleep because it's so excited about what just happened today and it just wants to replay it and think about how cool whatever that good thing was. So that is one thing that might be happening. Another thing might be happening is like we don't want to go to sleep because maybe we're really interested in, like I said, like a great book, and like I just don't want to put it down. Like I want to finish this book, or I want to finish this episode or this movie. So that could be a piece of it, but it also could be an avoidance mechanism where I know that when I lay down for bed, I just have crap night's sleep and I don't really want to sleep because I think of it as a waste of time, again, air quotes.
yes.
And I think that it's just a variation across what it is that sleep means for the person. So yes, I came from the VA. I also work with a ton of first responders. So sleep might not be this wonderful thing like I experience it, because sleep means, maybe it means nightmares. Maybe it means tossing and turning. Maybe it means not being able to shut my brain off. And it could be a variety of reasons why someone wants to avoid sleep. And so I would say if this feels like you want to avoid sleep for some reason, get curious about it. What does that mean for you? Why is this happening? And maybe it's, I would say, like keeping some type of journal or a little log about, okay, I'm recognizing in myself that I don't want to go to sleep. Okay, what is that? What's happening? Why? What are the thoughts that are coming up for me? What am I saying to myself? And getting an understanding of why, what's underlying, what's behind that? Why don't you want to fall asleep? And then that would be a good jumping off point to figure out what do we do with that.
Why are you so passionate about sleep?
That's a great question. I love sleeping. I just I love talking about sleep. I love helping people get better sleep, and I just love sleeping. It's like one of my favorite things to do. Like I get so excited to go to sleep. But I think that it's so like under recognized. It's just this like unsung hero that if we really truly gave sleep the place and the priority that it deserves, I think that I can guarantee, and there's very few things in life that are guaranteed, but I can guarantee that something in your life would improve, let alone like a snowball effect. And just to give you an example, a lot of people don't realize, but weight and sleep management, or excuse me, weight management and sleep are very closely tied together. So if you are following a diet, you're following your exercise plan, you're doing all the right things, and it's still not working out for you, you're not seeing the movement, sleep could be the missing piece of the puzzle. But when I say the snowball effect, okay, maybe we get you to a place where you're sleeping really well, and maybe then you start to lose a couple pounds. Okay, great. Like that's your goal, so you're feeling accomplished about your goal, but then maybe you're feeling like a little bit more self-confidence. Wonderful. Okay. And then maybe that means that you are willing to maybe put yourself out there a little bit more. So we're just starting to see more and more things. Maybe you put yourself out there a little bit more, and one of the things that you really want in your life is to bring in a relationship. Okay. So maybe like it's just a snowball effect of things that happen for you. And let's just put that example to the side. Maybe, say for example, we start to get you to a place where you're sleeping better, and then maybe you're waking up and you're not feeling like that grumpy self. Like, there are times where I have a crap night's sleep and my patience just is very short. But if I'm getting a good night's rest, maybe I am showing up as my best self. And when I show up as my best self, I can make connections with other people, and connections, maybe I can communicate better because I'm thinking more clearly because I've had a really good night's rest and I'm not struggling with brain fog. And when I can communicate more clearly, people understand, and maybe they're like, oh yeah, Dr. Leah really does know what she's talking about. I'd like to connect with her. And then I'm forming relationships and connections. And so I think that there's just so many different ways that it can snowball when you get good sleep and you get good sleep consistently. And so I guess that's why I'm so passionate about, is that like, try and tell me something that sleep doesn't touch.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't either. It's just, it touches everything. And I think that there's so much untapped, unharnessed potential with sleep that if we just wake up to it, wake up to understanding how important sleep is, and make some what can be very simple changes, we can all benefit.
Yeah. I have so many questions.
We could talk forever about sleep.
I promise one last question, right? Because we can talk
Okay.
for hours. And of course, I can always have you back on the show again.
Yeah, we can always do a whole nother episode. Yeah.
But this is my last question for today.
Okay.
Because of what you just said. So if we have a crappy sleep last night, for example, the previous night, and we wake up in the morning and feeling grumpy and all that, what can we do in the morning to help, feel better if we
Yes.
have a good night's sleep?
Yeah, and this is super duper easy. Whenever you wake up, one of the first things that I recommend for people to do is get up and get some natural sunlight. So if you can, going outside, and it doesn't have to be for a long period of time, just a few minutes. And this is whenever the sun is at a low angle in the sky. Even if it's cloudy, like even if you're not feeling like it, just go outside, look towards the sun, no sunglasses, don't burn your retinas, and I would just say, just take a couple of deep breaths. And with that, what's going to happen is the light is going to go into the eyes. We're going to get sciencey for a hot second. It's going to go back to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, back to the pineal gland. And when we have this natural sunlight coming into the eyes, it's telling the brain, okay, it's time to be awake. It's time to be alert. Shut off the melatonin. And so that's just one way that we can start off our day, with kind of getting this boost of shut off the melatonin, time to be awake, time to be alert, and starting off our day with, again, if we have some fresh air, if we've got a couple deep breaths, that's just one really nice way to start the day. But that is also helping you sleep better at night because we are strengthening the circadian rhythm. So we talked about our caveman ancestors before and how they knew it was time to be awake because the sun rose, and they knew it was time to be asleep because the sun went down. So if we are doing that, like one of the first things in the morning is getting that natural sunlight into our eyes, we are resetting the circadian rhythm, and we're letting it know it's time to be awake. And we're doing ourselves a favor because whenever nighttime comes, we are setting ourselves up for producing melatonin at night. So I would say that that's one of my best recommendations, and it's super easy, super simple, and it doesn't have to take more than a couple minutes.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. But I'm going to try. Maybe tomorrow I'm gonna
Yeah,
try. Yes. Thank you
give it a
so
go.
much. Yeah, I'm gonna try all everything that everything you said. So this has been so, like truly eye opening. Thank you so much for sharing your
Good.
expertise and showing us how better sleep can change everything. But we always
Yeah.
end with final five rapid fire questions.
Oh, okay.
These are the five questions that I ask all my guests at the end of the show. It doesn't have to do with sleep.
Okay. Let's do it.
It has to be answered in either one word or one sentence maximum because it's rapid fire.
Okay.
All right, I think we can
Okay.
do it. What is one thing you wish you knew earlier?
Don't be afraid.
I love that. If you could relive one day of your life, one day do over, which day would it be?
Maybe like a graduation and just really soaking in all that.
Wow, beautiful. If you could master one skill you don't currently have, what would it be?
Understanding business better.
Huh. Okay. If you could instantly solve one problem in the world, what would it be?
Can I go with world peace and just be really generic
Sure.
but truthful?
Yes, please. The last question is what brings you the greatest joy?
My dog Stella.
I didn't say sleep.
I thought about it. Stella
So
and
funny.
sleep.
Yeah, but because you just told me how much you love about sleep.
I
So
do.
now tell my people where to find you. If they want to learn more about you and even potentially, the possibility of working with you, where should I send them?
Yeah. So my website is drleahkaylor.com. My email address, you can contact me at info@drleahkaylor.com. I have a YouTube channel, again, Dr. Leah Kaylor. The book, which is called The Sleep Advantage, is coming out on October 1st, 2025. And yes, we are working on putting together sleep consultation packages right now. So if people feel like they just really need kind of an overhaul on their sleep and they want to sleep better and they want to work with a top expert, look for those. They should be out on my website here very soon.
Beautiful. Yeah. So yes, we would love to have you back on the show when the book is out.
Yeah.
The Sleep Advantage, and yeah, I can't wait for that. All right, guys, go follow Leah, visit her website, and check out all the amazing things that she is doing. I'll put all her links in the show note below. And if you have any question or if you have any thoughts, you can drop them in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, or you can send us a DM. We would love to hear from you. And I will always leave you the same way as I leave you every other episode. Show up. The world needs you, and you need you. Thanks for listening, and I wish you all a joyful and amazing day ahead. Thank you again for tuning into Find Joy Joyan podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a screenshot and share it on your IG story and take Find Joy Joyan _podcast so I know you are listening. And leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already done so. And remember to hit the subscribe button whether you are listening on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, or any of your other favorite platforms. If you love what we are doing and want to become one of our sponsors, you can send me a DM to connect. And thanks for being here. I will see you soon in the next episode.